Hi, this is Charles Dent, and I want to continue to do my introduction of my 60-day challenge. And it starts tomorrow, November the 1st. I know today is Halloween. Happy Halloween Day, everybody who's going to celebrate it today. But I want you to deal with this because November 1st is coming tomorrow, and we're going to start working on our 60-day challenge. Now, yesterday we was talking about this aspect of it, and then we're going to get rid of the whole thing is to get rid of excuses. We're going to chase these excuses away. I got this by the door, and I wanted it by the door because I want to open the door to my excuses. And I want them to walk out of my life. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how we're going to get these excuses to walk out of our lives. And I'm telling you, this 60-day challenge is going to be real good, real challenging to us to deal with the excuses that we give ourselves. So yesterday we were talking about this, and we look about excuse-driven life. Remember to talk about everything. How many of us live based on excuses? And we protect these excuses in here. So we're going to go back to our genetic blueprint. We're going to talk about mind. We're going to talk about serving you. Are these excuses serving us? We're going to deal with pride. And I think this is what God's been dealing with in my life. He's been dealing with this in me. Is dealing with pride. Let me show you what pride does in hanging on to excuses. Then I'm going to talk about this. We're going to talk about the lens, how we look through things, and how things are going to change. But here's the key thing over here. I'm going to do an assessment, and we're going to get to the solution, and that's going to be the last part. We're going to come back over here. We're going to talk about the mind, but we're going to do an assessment. So I want you to get some paper, get a pencil, and let's deal with this. We're going to deal with our assessment first. We're going to call this the SWOT analysis. That's the SWOT. That are strengths, our weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So that's what we're going to do our assessment. Now, assessment, as we look at this, we're going to look at what are our strengths. I want you to take a note and write down all of your strengths, because I want you to see the things that you do have in your life that are serving you, that is helping you get where you are now. You didn't get there where you are now just by your weaknesses. So look at the strengths that you have and look at what are the things you're good at. Now, for example, if you're good at talking, you're good at writing, you're good at meeting people, you're good at customer service, it's the key thing about all of this is to do an assessment of yourself. Not to assess yourself in the present or comparing yourself to somebody else, but look at your strength. What are your strengths? That you're loyal, you're a trusted friend. What are the strengths that you have? Even when you go to your job, even when you go dealing with your career. Let's do an assessment of your strengths. But in the weakness areas, this is where we're going to find, do we have excuses here? Do we make excuses for our weak areas and things of this nature? Do we validate them in a certain way? Do we justify them? Or do we have people that help us in our weak area? Or they say, child, it's okay, and things of this nature, because you have a tendency to procrastinate on dealing with things where you're weak. So you got to learn how to deal with the things where you're weak. You got to stop putting them off because you struggle there. Then look at the opportunities, and this is what I like to put now, no opportunities wasted. We got to learn how to maximize our time and the resources that we have in dealing with our excuses. So you got to be honest with yourself. Like, opportunities come. Now, no opportunities wasted. We're not going to waste a moment to deal with one of our weaknesses. And we're not going to waste a moment to strengthen even our strength. Then we're going to look at threats. What are the threats that keep us from dealing with our excuses? Television. Is television holding you back from doing what you need to do? What about Facebook? What about cell phones? What about those gadgets that you have that are keeping you from doing what you need to do? So you have to take that in consideration. That's the assessment. We're going to look at this. But what I want you to do in the assessment part, and we're going to talk about this, I want you to take a note, a piece of paper or something, and list 20 excuses you may have in your life. And some of you say, well, I don't have 20 excuses. Some of you say, I may not even have 10 excuses. Or if you have 20, you have 10, let's write down the top 5 excuses you have. And what we're going to do is create a plan for the top 5 excuses you have. And we're going to talk about this, and we're going to give you a strategy for dealing with the excuses you have in your life. So we're going to write down the top 5 excuses that you make in your life. And what we're going to do in this 60-day challenge, we may be able to deal with one excuse in 60 days. We may be able to deal with all top 5 in 60 days. But the key thing is, if we get one of them, we achieve our goal. If we're successful in dealing with just one excuse that we give ourselves, we're successful. I'm telling you, because I want to make this as simple as possible. I don't want you to feel so like you beat up. Like the first week, let's say in 60 days, first week you're going to deal with one, the first one, the top one. But then again, you're not successful in getting rid of that the first week. That's okay. Take it into the second week. Well, you didn't get rid of the second week. That's okay. Take it into the third week. You didn't get rid of it in the third week. That's okay. Take it into the fourth week. It doesn't matter how long it takes. You got this 60-day challenge, and you say, hey, I'm going to deal with this one excuse that I constantly give myself. This excuse where I procrastinate. This excuse where I don't go to the gym. I like what one guy said. He said, listen, when you go to the gym, you don't have to give 100%. You don't even have to give 50%. You can give 30%. It doesn't matter how much you give. It doesn't matter. It's just, you just need to show up. Just show up and give the best you can. If you give 35% at the gym, hey, that's okay. If you give 35% in walking, that's okay. You don't have to be perfect in walking. You don't have to run a marathon or anything. Just do it. Just get out there and do something. That'll help you deal with that one excuse. And if you say, I only lost a pound in 6 weeks, that's 1 pound you didn't gain in that 6 weeks. So you were successful. So you don't have to beat yourself over the head. So we're going to give you a plan for that. But here's the key thing I want to bring back. From the assessment, I want to come here into the mind. There's 2 minds you got to deal with. And this is where the struggle really is here in those 2 minds. One mind is the creative mind. The other mind is the habitual mind, or the mind that hangs on to your habits or hang on to your excuses. So you got the creative mind. Like even I'm talking to you right now. Your creative juices may be going, and you're thinking about some ideas and what you can do to overcome your excuses, and your mind is just going on and on and on. I can do this, I can do that, I can do this, I can overcome this. But guess what happened? That habitual mind of yours is going to kick in to reject those things, to reject them, to push them out. You can't do that, girl. And so that's when that negative self-talk comes. You can't achieve that. You can't get that done. You can't write that book. You can't overcome this. Because you got to deal with the habitual mind that's trying to keep you from making a choice. I'm going to do something about this. And so you got to look at that habitual mind. And please pay attention to it, because the habitual mind will imprison you, that keep you from functioning at your highest level. That's what it does. It imprisons your thought. It can imprison you. And so to create juices, it keeps you from functioning at your highest level. Now, watch what it does to you. It brings back a virus, because an excuses can be like a virus. It can be a virus, like you have a flu bug. Now, today is, if you don't deal with your flu, you can die from it. So what happened, the virus leads to an infection. So what is the infection? Now you see the excuses, now you see the infection, or you see the impact that excuse has brought. Now it's what? It goes back to the genetic makeup, the blueprint, because you got to look at your early family history. You can look at some things here, some of the things your parents said to you, and you go back here and you look at it, the virus that's been in you, that's spreading in you, that's now spreading from you to your children, to your coworkers, to your spouse, to your significant others. Now you see what's going on inside of you, and now you're constantly making excuses for it. And if you don't treat it, it can lead to death. If you don't learn to treat that virus that comes from your habitual mindset, it can kill you. It can kill your dreams. It can kill your future. It can kill your destiny. So the key thing is, I got to be honest with myself in my assessment, my SWOT analysis, come back and say, what is my habitual mind keeping from me being creative? Because how many times something new come to you, you get into a thought level, but that habitual mind, that negative self-talk say, girl, you can't lose 20 pounds. You can't lose 10 pounds. You can't lose 50 pounds. You just need to start losing 1. If you can lose 1, you can lose 2. And you don't have to put so much pressure on you to do that. But you got to be careful of the negative self-talk. The talk that you have with yourself. Because I learned the quality of your life begins with how you talk to yourself. How you communicate with yourself. So when you come here dealing with these 2 minds, the creative mind and the habitual mind, you got to be very careful as your creative juices start going, that negative self-talk doesn't kick in to stop you from achieving it. You got to deal with that. If you don't deal with this in here, even taking the assessment, you don't deal with this here, guess what happened come January 1st? You're going to be the same person you were in 2018. Because you didn't deal with the habitual mind that converts you back. Now watch what the habitual mind does to you. It keeps you from making a choice. Something kicking in automatic. Let me give you an example. And I think this is a perfect example. It keeps you from making a choice. But here's the thing about it. You know, like you're driving your car and somebody cut in front of you. What happened? The habitual mind kicks in. It brings up a past thought. It brings up something of the past. It brings up a past hurt. It say, how dare a person cut in front of me like this? But if you see the creative mind, you go like, wow, look how that car almost hit me. Look what almost happened. It didn't happen. I always say this, God sent an angel between you and that car did not hit you. But the creative mind will say new things to you because it creates a new wave of thinking. But the habitual mind will bring back us something that has happened in the past. And guess what happened? It gives you room to make an excuse. So here's the thing about it. When you do that, please take note of this. And go back to his, make an assessment, doing a SWOT analysis. Come here, deal with the mind, be honest with yourself, because if you're not honest with yourself, you're not going to get there. You're not going to make any changes. You're not going to chase excuses away. But when you be honest with yourself and say, hey, this is me, this is nobody else, I'm talking to me, about even my writing, even my time with God, even my devotion, things of this nature, I got to be honest because sometimes when God gives me new things, I don't want to act on them, and I don't act on them because here's the biggest thing that kicks in. It's called pride. What pride does to this habitual mind, pride, you see me going back and forth between pride and the habitual mind, because pride has the ego, which is edging God out. What it does, it keeps in the excuses. Pride does something else. Pride lets you own your excuses. Pride gives you ownership of your excuses. Now, instead of them being something you borrowed from your parents or someone of that nature, which you borrowed, now you own them. Now you transfer that ownership to your children, to people around you. And you realize it comes from pride. And that's what pride does. Pride gives you ownership on it. And then here's the other thing about, from the habitual mind, pride does what? Pride hinders the process. So when it's time to see something, doing something new in your life, and that's what's going to happen when you start dealing with excuses, new things are going to take place in your life, pride will hinder the process because pride has a tendency to protect the excuses. And pride, what it does, it keeps the excuses from what? From evolving. What it does, it keeps them what? At bay. It say, hey, I'm going to make an excuse. I always been like this. That's where the excuse catalog comes in because of pride. So I got to go back here and I got to deal with this habitual mindset, but I got to deal with my pride. I got to ask myself, why is it that I'm hanging on to this? I don't have to own this excuse any longer. I don't have to own the excuse of procrastinating and putting this off. I can start creating some new practices in my life. Like, for example, I got my golf clubs or some golf clubs in my office, and I remember I used to practice. They say practice make perfect. No, practice make permanent, or practice can improve performance. Now, I know the old thing is practice make perfect. No, I want to say this. Practice can improve my performance. That's what I want you to get in you. Practice can improve your performance. So now I'm going to start practicing to overcome these excuses so I can improve my performance. So start getting around that practice make perfect. No, practice make permanent. No, practice improve my performance. Now that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to improve my performance because why? I'm going to do an assessment of the excuses that I have. And I'm going to write them out. I may not have 20. I may not have 10. I may not have only 5. Maybe I have only 2. But whatever the excuses I've been giving myself to procrastinate, to deal with things or not face situations in my life, I'm going to deal with SWOT analysis and I'm going to deal with it. But I got to deal with pride. I mean, really do, because pride, this thing, pride is a killer. I mean, pride to keep us from being honest with ourselves. I'm telling you, pride is so dangerous. So when you come over here, I want you to see this. Now I'm going to deal with my pride. I'm going to come over here, and I got to ask the question this, and this is an ABC question. I got to ask myself, this is why this is here, how are my excuses serving me? Or how's my pride protecting them? How's my excuses serving me? For example, what is my attitude when somebody confront me about my excuses? What is my attitude when someone tell me, well, you said you were going to do this, and then you didn't do it? What kind of attitude I get? Do I get angry because somebody pointed that out to me? Do I start becoming defensive because somebody pointed that out to me? Now, you said you were going to the gym. You said you were going to work out. You said, and then somebody start pointing that out to me, and if I don't do it, I make myself into a liar. And so what happened here, I got to ask myself, what was my attitude or behind that excuse that I had? What kind of attitude I have behind it? Am I angry? Am I defensive? Do I justify myself? Come on, everybody. Please hear me. What's your attitude behind it? And then the second thing is, what's my belief behind that excuse? Because I said yesterday, if I can take that excuse from you, and that you can't rely on that excuse, or like procrastinating, or you can't rely on that excuse of just telling a lie. You can't rely on. What would you do differently? Then they ask the thing about, what is it I need to confess? Now watch this now. Because your words are so powerful, and whatever you confess out your mouth, you end up believing in your heart. You end up believing it. Oh, I could never do any better. My parents been like this. I always been like this all my life. I've been drinking 30 years. I've been smoking 40 years. I've been doing this all. I can't help myself. So that's the confession that you're making over your excuses. So I got to go back to my attitude, because you got to be careful now. Got to go back to your attitude. Your attitude connect to your belief. Belief connects to your confession. So if I'm going to deal with this, I'm going to have to deal with this too. I'm going to have to deal with my attitude. I got to deal with my beliefs, and that's what we're going to talk about here. And I got to deal with what I confess out my mouth. I can say this can be done, because if I just put this in spiritually with God, I can do all things. And we're going to talk about that. So the key thing here is I got to ask myself this question. Am I going to take on this challenge in the next 60 days and deal with the excuses that I make? So I want you to see this. Now, I want you to get a handle of this, because I think this is important. I think this makes a lot of sense, everybody, because we're not going to go into the new year with the saying, oh, New Year's resolution. No, we're starting now. We're going to start tomorrow. We're going to start, and I'm going to give you the other things we're going to be dealing with tomorrow. I got a whole 60 days thing, a plan for this, and I want you to journal this, and I want you to be honest, and I want you to do this. I want you to make a list of your excuses. I want you to start making a list. Here's my excuses that I give myself. Here's my excuses why I can't. And because now I got to look at the negative habits I got and the negative self-talk, and I want you to hear this amount. Now keep in mind that the virus that you're carrying, that's infecting you and is spreading from you to other people. Just be honest with yourself. Okay? So when it comes to here, and I deal with my mind, I deal with everything I'm dealing with. My genetic blueprint, I can't say this. Now here's something I wrote here is doctor. In my genetic blueprint, I understand even a doctor cannot even change how you think. I've seen this, and I know that sometimes doctors give people sugar pills and everything of this nature, and they swear that's helping them. And the doctor knows it's all in mental. So even the doctor can't help you change your mind. They can give you prescription drugs all day long, but it can never change how you see yourself. It can never change that. It can never alter that. It's what you think about. What's going to change even your body, even your health, is what you think about. And if you got a habitual mindset, you always think you're sick. You're always going back to sickness. You're always going back to disease. But you don't realize there's a virus inside of you that's impacting you, that's keeping and protecting the excuses that you give yourself. So I'm going to come over here and then we'll look at this. Because why? Now I got to deal with what I believe. Because if I believe this over here, the doctor even know I can't even help you. That's why sometimes people send you to psychologists and psychiatrists, because they try to deal with you mentally. They try to deal with the things that you're thinking about. But you don't realize that's coming right here with your habitual mindset. So I'm going to bring you all the way back over here to my mind. It's linked to what I believe. I believe the excuse is okay. I believe it's okay to be this way. And there's nothing wrong with smoking, drinking, getting high. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not hurting no one. Really? There's nothing wrong with all the excuses we give ourselves, because it goes to our belief system. That's what it is. And see, why is it in black? I put it in black because that can be the darkest place in your life. It can be the darkest area of life is your beliefs. And you always believe that you're always supposed to be this way, but you don't have to be that way. You believe that. That's what somebody told you, and they train you, they program you. Your DNA is right here in your beliefs. It's in your beliefs. And so you always believe, I'm supposed to have this in my life. I'm supposed to be this type of person. But that's your belief. I can't alter your beliefs. Can I be honest with you? God won't either. Until you decide, I want to change what I believe about myself. So if you do, That's going to link you, bring you back up to your mental, because you're going to change how you think. You're going to find there's different solutions in your life, but here's what's going to happen. He's going to give you a new lens and how you see this. First of all, he's going to change your lens on how you see yourself. Now, one of the things scriptures say, I'm beautiful and wonderfully made by God. He's going to get you to change how you see yourself. That's what you got to understand. God changes you how you see yourself above everything else. You see yourself as a failure. God sees yourself as a person waiting to be discovered. You just see yourself as fat. God said, no, you don't see. God doesn't see you that way. God sees you as a healthy person. You just got to get on board with God. That's how he sees. God doesn't see you the way you see yourself. He sees you totally different. He sees potential in you because he put it in you. He sees greatness on the inside because he put it in you. That's in your creative mind. But your habitual mind constantly rejects that. So go to the place, and God said, I see a new system. I see a new thing happening inside of you. And then what happened here is that you're going to start meditating on the new you. And you start contemplating, man, I see myself being a different person. I'm excited about the things of God. I'm excited about my life. I'm excited about this 60-day challenge. I'm enthused about it. I'm motivated towards this. I love this challenge coming my way. I'm going to be honest with you. I love it. I love giving it to you. So here's what I'm saying. In order for you to see this new person, this is what I want you to do. Now, here's the thing. You look at my excuses, then I'm going to give you the plan, and then I'm through. Here's the thing. This came from Bishop Holcomb taught me this, and I want to share this with you. He said you got to face it, trace it, erase it, replace it. You got to face, how did I get these excuses? Did it come from my parents? Is it coming from my structure? Is it coming from my history? Does it come from the condition of my family? Does it come from a hurt? Because even sometimes hurtful situation can give you an excuse why not to date, not to talk to anybody, not to enjoy life anymore because of some of the hurt, the negative situation happening in your life. Now you start having this negative self-talk and you have all this thing. So you got to understand I got to face where I got this. I got to trace, did it come from my mom? Did it come from my dad? Did it come from some hurt? Did it come from a bad relationship? Where did it come from? Now be honest with yourself and do it. And then erase it. Say, hey, my goal is I'm going to erase this excuse. But if I'm going to erase it, I got to replace it with something. Don't erase it without a desire to replace it with something. Do not erase it until you have a desire to say, hey, I'm going to replace my overeating with exercise. I'm going to replace my urge to smoke with something else. Because it's not the smoking that gets you. It's the urge to smoke that gets you. So here's the one thing. Here's the last thing. This is the plan of action. We're going to do our SWOT analysis. Here's the plan of action. Number one, I need a plan. I need a plan to address this. That's what you got to have. You got to have a plan to say, I'm going to address this excuse. You got to be honest, I got a plan. I'm going to address my excuse of procrastinating. I'm going to address my excuse of not going to the gym. I'm going to address it. I'm going to address my excuse. And I'm going to be honest with myself because I'm going to create a plan to overcome it. I don't have to have 20 excuses, just the top 5. That's all we're going to work on in this 60-day challenge. If I only deal with one in 60 days, I was successful. Number 2, I need wisdom. I need wisdom to overcome this excuse. And from a God perspective, I need God's insight to show me that this is possible, because the next thing is I got to believe it is possible. The first thing is got to have a plan. Number 2, I got to have wisdom to know how to overcome it. Number 3, I got to believe it is possible I can overcome this excuse. Number 4, I got to have a level of expectation of myself. I got to expect that this can be done, and it can be done in my life. I got to get rid of my excuse catalog thinking it cannot be done in my life, because it can be done in my life, and it's going to be done in my life. Because why? I'm changing my confession. I'm not going to confess what I used to confess. I'm going to change my confession. And then the 5th thing is I need strength to endure. I need the strength to embrace this and go through it, because there are going to be times you're going to be weak. There are going to be times when you don't feel like doing this challenge. There are going to be times, but you got to have the strength to say, hey, I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to endure this. So the key thing here, let me give you the plan again. Got to have a plan. I got to address it. Number 2, I got to have wisdom. Number 3, I got to believe it is possible. Number 4, I got to have a level of expectation. It can be done in my life. And number 5, I got to have strength to endure it. Now, here's my thing, and I want to challenge you guys with this. If you can inbox me on Facebook and say, hey, here's my excuse. I want to be praying with you, praying for you. And you can just do it. You can, if you even have to do it a different way, just do that and just let me know. Just inbox me. Just really inbox me and say, hey, Charles Den, Pastor Den, this is what I'm dealing with. I want you to pray with me. And I'm going to help you. I want to help you in this next 60-day challenge. You got questions about it. I want to help you get there. If we only get one, if we only address one excuse, and we work on that one excuse for the next 60 days, we're not going to take that excuse in 2019. Now, our goal is 5. But if we get one, that's okay. That's all right. You don't have to put pressure on yourself. You don't have to make yourself feel like a failure. You don't have to have negative self-talk if you don't get there. If we just get one, we're good. All right? So, hey, this is Charles Den. I want to share with you, we are chasing excuses away in this next 60 days. Thank you. God bless you guys. I look forward to hearing from you.